a goal, Chris Billy, Huddersfield Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Thank you.
And Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hello and welcome to episode 166 of the Andy Takes That Chance podcast. This week, Neil Warnock described the game against Burnley as a free hit. So we've taken the same tact with this podcast and don't really have much of an agenda or anything to say. So joining me with very little to say for himself this week, we've got the Bavarian Bear, Richard Kosmala, and the more Paddington of Bears, Mr. Dan Porritt. You okay there, chaps?
Not bad, mate.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, Matt. I was hoping that your WhatsApp message wasn't going to come earlier on. It's one of those, when you've lost and there's not a lot to say. It's like Groundhog Day, and I'm thinking, I hope he's not going to do it.
We can wrap this up quickly, can't we?
I'm ready for it, mate.
I know, we can wrap this up. You're in Germany, aren't you, Kosi, at the minute? You're enjoying the delights of Dusseldorf at the minute. How's it going over there? Because it's probably more interesting than yesterday.
Oh, Matt, I had a bit of a loving yesterday. What's really good about German football is really weird. It's like they have like 3 or 4 games starting the second division at the same time, and they cut to the action. Whoever's on the ball, and flashed up on my screen yesterday in a bar with Mr. C. Schindler, mate, and it was just one of those, like gooey moments. It were almost like kind of a date night, and just thinking Christopher Schindler on my screen, and Nuremberg won, and he were doing like the woo to the fans and that as well. But it's what a place to watch football, Germany. And thing is, after that game finished, I thought I'll just hang around and watch Burnley v Huddersfield. And I know people always say about German football, it's like, it's because you can drink in a steam, but it's so much more than that, really, and as well. But it's just obviously you remind of all our promotion season and the 4 or 5 players we got from Germany. But it's good place, and Schalke won. I've still got a place in my heart for Schalke, even though David Wagner's not there anymore. But I can't lie. We were sat in a hotel next to Schalke Stadium watching Burnley v Huddersfield. My friend went for a drink. He only went for like 2-3 minutes to come back, and he was 3-0. It's just like, hey, can we turn this off? But we watched it all. So bad, man.
As did I. And Spain, it looks like Spain's got a bit of competition, doesn't it? So Germany versus Spain for Cos's affection. Although the sunshine might win out, I think.
Hot dog or chips, mate. I'm not into Spanish food, but mate, give me a Frankfurt or a Bratwurst and some chips, mate. And I'm anyone's really. But what a place. Honestly, if you had a piece of paper and you could design football how it should be, this is it, mate. Free transport in the city, cheap beer at your seats. Great atmosphere, standing, safe standing, just unbelievable, Poz. You'd have loved it. Like the other night when we were in Dusseldorf, like the ultras, we were stood there, song sheet here, and I tell you what, I nearly got my phone taken off me. The ultra leader were like, no photos. I thought, I'll try and take a sneaky view. They came up to me like kind of at half time, they were like, pointing finger. I thought, my phone's not coming back to England here and that as well. But it's unbelievable. It's like people just waving flags. I know possibly you kind of like have a battle with like the kind of English culture to do it, but people are waving flags, they're putting banners up, and this happens during the game. So it's like, honestly, second half, Dusseldorf were attacking our energy. You could hardly see any of it because people just like waving flags, holding banners and stuff. And it's, can you imagine that up at town, like, get it, John, look how bloody seal and stuff like that.
You get lynched, man. You get lynched. People moan sometimes when we do stuff that the car seat players walk out onto it. And it's like,
it's just incredible. And it's just cute little things like at the end, like the ultra leaders, everyone passing the banners down to him at the end. It was amazing. Not just like leaving him on the floor and just like disappearing. He's just like, he's absolute class in it. It's like how they do things here and as well. But he just like, all I was saying to my friend who's like here next to me, he's got to listen to the podcast before it's come out, but it's like he was saying, like when shit. I know they were saying it to like biggest up like, what officials like Germany? It sounds really bad, but it's absolutely nothing like it, really. But I know we had as amazing moments doing a promotion season, the season after, but the culture is just so different. But it's one big party, and the thing I love about it most in like Germany is like you got the bars after a game, you get a cut. Fans just let you in, you'll be at the game. Fantastic. You're like, you're from England. I mean, Matt, I met one of your friends after an unbelievable platform at Gelsenkirchen. They were like, It's just like, when you beat a football game, you're treated like a king in Germany. When you beat them for a football game in England, maybe for a reason, you're treated like a piece of dirt. And it's just like, that makes me mad as that. But yeah, but having said all that, I still won't have alcohol in the ground in England because you just know that it's going to end in tears. But enough of the German loving. Let's get onto the brutal hardcore defeat of Burnley for Huddersfield.
Speaking of alcohol, this episode is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing. Use our code of AHTTC10 if you want to get 10% off any online orders from Magic Rock. And I recommend that you do so. Also, I want to throw out a big congratulations to a friend of the podcast, Danny Kiran, who's just had his first child as well. So little Philippa was born the other day. A little bit late, but he seems to be loving life as a dad, which is the best, isn't it, Poz? So, big congrats to Danny, and I think he'll be back on the pod sooner rather than later, hopefully. Right, okay. Burnley 4, Huddersfield Town 0. Let's get into it. Right, so Kosi. I think Kosi's disappeared, hasn't he? I don't know what's going on with Kosi at the minute over there. But Poz, Neil Warnock pre-match described this as a free hit, as I've mentioned in the intro. And they kind of played a little bit. There's two ways that can go, isn't there? You can either get fired into them with nothing to lose, or you can kind of just passively do nothing. And Huddersfield Town this season just tend to passively do very little in a lot of games, don't they? And I kind of expected a bit of spirit and us to have a real go and get in the faces of Burnley and just to ruffle a few feathers. But fuck me, we are so unbelievably soft, aren't we? Burnley scored some great goals, but how soft were they from our point of view? You're looking at the first ones, Aurori's got all week to cross that ball in Romani Edmonds Green. You've got to get tighter. You can't, mark someone from 5-6 yards away. You've got to get in his face. You've got to get tighter. And he did do that second half, but by then the game's over. And, maybe this is my fault a little bit because I associate Neil Warnock's teams with being in your face, being aggressive, being, really sort of spirited. But this isn't really a Neil Warnock team, is it? It's one he's inherited. So maybe I expected a bit too much. And let's be honest, Burnley were a bit bloody good, weren't they? And Neil Warnock described them as the best team he's seen in the Championship in 25 years. And I think maybe that might be designed to take a little pressure off. But, it's worth having the conversation at some point. Burnley are as good as a lot of teams you've seen at this level. There were Wolves a few years ago, weren't they? But Burnley are right up there. But for me, it was just one of those games where you were just sat there, it was painful. Burnley at one point had 83% possession. Town just didn't want the ball, didn't really want to be on the pitch. And it was a disappointing game. And I thought we improved as the game went on. I think one of the criticisms I used to have of Mark Fotheringham was that during a game, Huddersfield Town would get progressively worse and progressively weaker. Town got progressively better bit by bit in the game, but how much of that was down to Burnley easing off and how much of it was down to us getting a foothold, it's up for debate. But I think we kind of expected to be tupped, to be honest. And we went there to get beat, didn't we? And I think at the end of the day, I think we'll understand how good or bad this week was next week after the two games we've got coming up. Because Neil Warnock has said we need to wrap people up in cotton wool for the next two games coming along. So he's not picked Pearson, he's not picked Jonathan Hogg. Rhodes on the bench didn't really, he's not really featured as of yet. Danny Ward has played quite a bit, but I understand maybe what he's doing, but it's very much reminiscent of Huddersfield Town in the Premier League, isn't it? Do you remember when season starts now sort of stuff? And that really backfired, didn't it, at the time? Because we put so much pressure on ourselves for that Cardiff game, ironically against Neil Warnock, that the Coventry and Bristol City games, all of a sudden against two form teams in the league, now look incredibly huge. And I'm not disappointed at losing to Burnley. I'm just disappointed in how we did it. And I just thought we could have maybe done a bit, especially when you watch the goals back and I turned into Neil Warnock during this game because I was just sat there watching it. I was just going, just fucking kick him. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to see someone kick someone. And I was just like, I think it was the fourth goal where Obafemi just turns off Kamara and Kamara kind of ambles. And I'm just like, just fucking kick him on the edge of the box. Just take a yellow card. Just fucking kick him. And it's just that frustration and that sort of bits of a Neil Warnock side I wanted to see. And we're not seeing it yet. And I think we will do later on down the line. And maybe we can overanalyze this. But we essentially, it feels like we went there to get beat and just to get the game over and done with. But the most, I think, the best thing about it yesterday was the fact that no other results really went against us. And I think that's probably the most important thing. So I think in that sort of sense, you can maybe say, do you know what? It's not actually been that bad a day, especially at one point it looked like it was going to be 7 or 8 for Burnley. So, let's not get not too low when we lose, Poz, and not too high when we win, as a famous man once said. Let me know what you thought about the game. I've pretty much said all I've got to say about the game there. I was just a little bit, I don't know if I'm disappointed or just if it's just a culmination of the previous games and the passive nature of Town. I'd have just liked to just blooded a few noses, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're right, Matt. I think you've got to look at Burnley. Let's not beat around the bush. They are a good side. The miles clear at top of the league, and they're obviously going to get promoted this season. They've played against teams better than us at Turf Moor and done very similar to them. So you've on one hand you've got to look at Burnley and just say, yeah, they are a fantastic team. They knock it round well, and under Vincent Kompany they've sort of totally reinvented themselves. They're no longer that sort of long ball, rough and ready sort of side. They can play a bit of football, and like I say, there's better teams than us gone there and succumb to a similar fate. But I fully agree with you. I think the Warnock suggesting it as a free hit, I kind of get what he's doing there. It's it's a place to go, and it's a game where we're not expected to win, not expected to get anything out of it. But the way that we performed were just so low intensity that you'd have better off just forfeiting. You'd just been better off forfeiting, just saving everybody some time, effort, and money. Because on one hand he's saying it's a free hit, then he's coming out saying we need the fans to travel to Burnley and get behind them and stuff. So which is it? The first 2 goals, 13 minutes and 2-0 down. It's game over before it's even begun. I think you're quite right. The defending for the first one is terrible, and then the second one, Edmund Green's just basically watching his man walk in front of him, and like I say, 2-0 up after 13 minutes. He's a lover. I fully agree with you again. I don't mind losing to Burnley, but let's go there and at least give a little bit of passion, show a bit of something. If it turns out that the way that we played were just basically not to get anyone injured, not to get anyone sent off, suspended, whatever, and then we follow up with 2 decent home results, you'll look back and say, fair enough. But it's a big ask in it to go now and beat 2 teams that are doing really well at the moment. I think Coventry just outside playoffs, Bristol City not far below. They won't be coming to us. They're not, it's not like a mid-table team who have got not a lot to play for. They'll be all guns blazing and trying to get 3 points. So it was just a bit of a disappointment after we played so aggressively and so against Birmingham, to then go to Burnley and basically be the opposite. Like it's not, for me, that's not how a Neil Warnock side plays. You can still go there and put a little bit of effort in and try and get some out of the game. And obviously I didn't go yesterday, but if I had done, I wouldn't have been right happy that it cost £25 and the rest, travel, getting there, etc., just to basically roll over and have his belly tickled. It were poor all round from everybody concerned for me, from management and players as well. It was just a bit pathetic, and I dare say that if Mr. Warnock weren't in charge and Mr. Fotheringham went and played like that, the people that are saying it don't matter on social media will have been absolutely frothing with that sort of performance. So, all right, yeah, Warnock got us that result like next week, and kind of got to look at the bigger picture. But for me, it can't be one rule for one manager and one rule for another. If you're going to just lay down and die, the manager's got to take some stick for that. And I think Warnock rightly for me should be criticised for the way that with his sort of run up to the game war and also the performance on Saturday, it were awful. And if we play like that again, no matter who we play against, they'll beat us. So we need a good reaction now on Saturday.
It's a bit annoying when I'm having to agree with you two guys, because normally I've got opposites to say, but yeah, totally agree with what you're saying and that as well. It was so disappointing. I think you're really weird. I watched it the first 5-10 minutes. I thought, well, obviously, I didn't think we were going to win, but like I was just like, wow, we're up there, we're in their end of the pitch and that as well. It were like kind of promising, but as soon as they got the first goal, the game were done and that as well. But I think I can kind of get his reasons for pulling players out, but it just so disappointing. It's like he really split the fan base, did this result yesterday. It was kind of 50-50. I just put the question out there: can this team win 6 more games to stay up? But there were people saying, well, we were going to lose that. What did you expect? And that as well. But it's like, you've got to expect a bit better than that, really. And that as well, just like kind of put tackle in, letting them go. I thought, really, the fact it only stayed 4 is more because they eased off, really, and that as well. I didn't think for anything. I know Matt Hughes kind of said we played better second half, but I mean, again, I just think it was more that, they kind of eased off rather than anything good that we did. But yeah, just so disappointing. And people I know spot they were saying it was like a training system, but like you said, Poz, it's like that. Not only a Warnock team, but the problem is he's just been thrown into this team, and he kind of ended his interview after. It's like, I can't bring any players in. You've just got to go where I've got. So I thought his interview after was quite really interesting, really, because he was saying stuff that were just like, like Danny Ward played well, and I think he was. It was like bigging up other people, and I'm thinking, really? But the problem is, you can't tear into people. We've kind of got 13 games left. You've got to like big people up. But he does make me laugh, but like you were saying, Poz, because like obviously he's got the credit in the bank with the town fans for the promotions and obviously the Hot Glass Trophy, but probably got no credit in the bank. Probably come out with that, they'd be absolutely hell on, But no one kind of like is too. Critical really, because it's just like that's how it is. Huddersfield Town at the moment. But the thing I walked away just kind of thinking at the end, my gut feeling was, I get it were Burnley, I get we had like players missing, but can this team really win 6 more games? And I know some people saying it might be 5.
Why 6? Why 6? Because you said 6. I'm sure you said 6 before Birmingham, and then we won 1. So why is it still 6?
Yeah. The only thing is I'm kind of aiming towards top end of 40, but you know what, Matt? It might not be that. And the biggest thing about the day, and I think all of us were on the same page, is every single result went right for us. Hopefully Swansea will finish complete the jigsaw tomorrow and beat Rotherham. But it's I know it's one less game, but realistically, we were never going to get anything there. But it's just like all the problems that we've got with Huddersfield Town were just like there yesterday and that as well. It was like soft, everything down the middle. It was so
It was a midfield that really, it was a midfield.
Yeah.
I know Roman Emmons-Green's copped some stick, and I'm not entirely sure that was his man for the second. It looks like it doesn't on the replay, but I'm not sure if they were going zonal or man to man. His man was actually on the outside, but he runs off of him. I think it might have been the winger's man, to be honest. But even though it's not great, is it? People are letting men go, and every time it was just a lack of tracking and it felt like a lack of heart from some players, and I think that's why it was a bit difficult to watch. I know Burnley were very good, but I think
Warnock's clever,
we busted a gut.
Warnock's clever because the director, when I listened to his interview this morning, I know it was last night, but this morning we're like the fans are going to, because like Dave Sykes said, if the fans are going to be with us, they will be with us. It were almost like kind of a bit of I don't want to say it, but it's like a bit, yeah. It would like a bit of a spin doctor, really, and that as well. It were like the fans are going to be with us. It's going to be bouncing in the next game. Everything about the next game, it were on and that as well. And it's just like players were playing well. That wasn't and that as well. We are lucky that we've kind of the game's been lost. Everyone else has lost as well. But I just kind of come out of there that after the Birmingham game, and I was one that thought we were a bit lucky to win the game. I know you. Matt and Poz, you thought that we probably deserved to win it, and maybe we did, but I thought there was no evidence there that it's like we're going to go on for this run. But it's I just don't like writing off football matches and that. So they're so disappointing. Even Poz, you'll have trained like junior teams. Matt, you'll have played like in other kind of teams. When you look at the table, like
trained junior teams as well.
Yeah, but you just put a foot in, kick someone, passion and stuff like that as well. And I think it was Paul Hurst put a nice picture on, like from Turf Moor, he had a picture there and said, look, just like, I get they were better than us, but at least give something and that as well. There was just absolutely nothing there for most, were there?
I mean, the interviews with Warnock, they're a lot of what he's saying is not for us, is it? It's for the players, and he's trying to G the players up. I think the problem is when he's come into a squad that are absolutely flat in terms of confidence, and we've seen Mark Fotheringham try and call players out in public, and it's completely backfired and not gone well. And then he's tried to put his arm around them. That didn't really go well either. So I think Warnock is completely decided. Exactly, I need to be charming. I need to be the old granddad. I need to put my arm around them, tell them I love them, etc., and make them feel part of something. And he's doing it, and I get what he's doing. So I'm not. I think it's quite good. His pre and post match.
To be honest, Matt,
describing it as a free hit was a good idea, but it just
it's embarrassing, really. But like 3-0 down, after 27 minutes. If you'd have said we'd lose 4-0, I'd have shook someone's hand.
I'd have taken that.
It's embarrassing, really, isn't it, when you're saying that. I thought it just reminded me of that Norwich game, obviously under Carlos in COVID, and when we got absolutely battered. But to me, we're all about are Burnley going to keep going, and I just thought they eased off. But I suppose it doesn't really matter. It is what it is. We lost 4-0 and that as well. And you look at the table and not much has changed. Obviously, from yesterday, fingers crossed Swansea can do us a favour tomorrow. But it's it just feels everything is just. I know I've kind of said the 5 games that we had, and we only got 2 points that were like that with the moment. But these 2 home games, Matt, I mean, I'm thinking 4 keeps us in it, but we need 6 really, don't we?
Yeah, anything less than 4 and we're done. Absolutely done, I think.
But the problem is, Matt, it's this is the big issue for me. It's everyone's saying we can do it. I mean, we can, but has anyone looked at what Coventry and Bristol City do in the moment? Because they're playing well.
They're both decent. They're both decent, but it's the championship in it. Town have got some good players. They're just not. They haven't clicked all season. But Danny Ward. If we, he's praising Danny Ward, and if all of a sudden Danny Ward has a run of 10 games where he turns into the Danny Ward of last season, we're laughing, aren't we? Well, not laughing, but we're in a much better place. And he's praising Jack Redoni as well. He praised Jack Redoni, and I was like, really? I didn't really see anything from him. But he's bigging him up, and if Jack Redoni all of a sudden becomes the player that he was signed to be, or we think he can be going forward, then again, brilliant, because he's going to catch fire at some point in his career, and if it's now, brilliant. If it's not, he will do later.
Do you two feel the same though? I just think we've been absolutely horrendous from day one. The Burnley game, we were rubbish. They should have won by more. We've been horrendous from day one, and we've still got a chance of staying up. I feel we're really fortunate to have that opportunity and that as well. I watched Schalke kind of last night, and they've been got the same. They won the 3rd game last night, and they've got 3 points away from and it's just it's just almost like you just take that view. It's wow, we've been horrendous. It's nearly March now, but we can still stay in the division. It's just the big question is with them and with us is what's left? Can we do it? And I think the winning thing is obviously our running.
Teams at the bottom tend to be crap. Teams at the bottom are crap, and that's why they're at the bottom. And that's why we're at the bottom. We've been crap. But I still think there are players here who could and should be doing better. I think some players haven't been utilised properly all season. And it's good to see Neil Warnock. We saw he used Jaheim Headley really well last week, I thought, and he used Joseph Hungbo really well. So we've got the right person, haven't we? For the I generally don't think you could have anyone better at this level from now till the end of the season, realistically. So
the thing is that he'll get the backing. He'll kind of. He's really clever. His interviews are brilliant, as Neil Warnock, because
it's a savvy old fox.
Yeah, he is, mate. It's really, really good, and it makes me laugh. My friend who was here with me in Germany said, it makes me laugh because all of a sudden these Sky people, have you noticed that Sky microphones in now, Sky Sports? They didn't give us toss about us, did they, for all of the season? But Neil Warnock says loads of different microphones in front of him. Exactly. But it's and they were asking him about the new governance of the English football and stuff like that. But they're not really bothered about Huddersfield Town, if we're being honest. But it's still on if we're good enough. But the next 2 home games are absolutely huge and that as well. Yeah. But I think the good thing is, Matt, is that we won't die wondering under Warnock, and I think we did die wondering yesterday.
I think that's why it was a bit disappointing. I mean, I could handle losing 4-0 to Burnley. I think it's just the way that you do it sometimes. That was it. I think that's all we need to really say about the game itself, wasn't it? Neil Warnock described them as the best team of the last 25 years, and there's a lot of people sort of looking at them because Burnley, you have to say, Burnley have punched above their weight for a long time, haven't they? Now they've really been doing it since the 1960s in a lot of ways, but they're a very similar sized club, you would say, to Huddersfield. They probably turn over commercially. The place is similar to Huddersfield. It's an old industrial, post-industrial mill town. There's a lot of similarities between the two clubs, and they came down with a big debt. We came down with a big debt, and the two teams have gone about it completely differently, and that's caused a bit of a discussion online. Huddersfield kind of went, do you know what? Right, we need to pay Dean Hoyle back a load of money. We need to restructure. We need to get back to where we were and go again. And Burnley have just gone, sack this. We're just going to throw the kitchen sink at it and get promoted. And it's interesting to see that, the two ways. And to be honest, if we'd have done what Burnley had done, it'd have probably gone to absolute shit and we'd be in absolute trouble, wouldn't we? But, Burnley...
we did do that under Wagner, didn't we? We went German, they've gone Belgian, and it's like...
Well, they've thrown a lot of money at it. So, I mean, when we've come down, we went Jan Sievert, didn't we? But the way that they've come down is completely different. It's chalk and cheese, isn't it? And
if I'm a Burnley fan, and it's obviously not a Burnley podcast, but I'm thinking, we're going to go up, and I think they've got half a chance of surviving it because there's something different. Though they've got a different way of playing, a different style. Yeah, okay,
tactically very good.
Yeah, tactically very good in that as well. But I'm like you. I just don't like throwing games and it sounds a bit rude that, but it's like just kind of sacking games off and stuff like that as well. But we know these next two games, it won't matter really if we kind of get 6 points out of the next two. But it was horrible to watch because at that 3-0 point, Matt, I don't know what you were thinking, but I was just thinking, if we can get out of here less than 5, I'm happy. And you should never think. Can you imagine, like your own team, if you lose 5-0, you're kind of happy. It's like that's garbage, mate.
And I was watching Celtic and Rangers earlier in the League Cup final for a little bit, and Celtic went 2-0 up. And the response from Rangers was just completely different. I know Celtic ended up winning the game, but it was 2-1 in the end. I watched a little bit of it because I just still love watching Aaron Moy. He's still an absolute master. And Rangers scored, and they threw everything at Celtic, and Rangers aren't as good as Celtic, man for man. But it was good to watch because Rangers stood up and had a go at it. And we went 2-0 down and just slope shoulders. And I suppose it needs a big reset, doesn't it, in terms of the playing squad and the attitude of the playing squad. And there just seems to be, to me, there's a lack of, it goes back to what Neil Warnock said about lack of leaders, and you kind of saw it, didn't you, on Saturday?
He knows it, Matt, though. He knows he's not that. But he can't say it. And it's like, he can't go on his tirades because that's what he likes to do, but he can't do it. And he was really interesting.
Destroy him, wouldn't he, if he did that?
His interview were all positive on it. We're all about the fans being behind the team in the next games. Danny Ward were great. It's like Headley were great. And it's like, I'm thinking they weren't, Neil, but I get it. It's like he's just trying to like kind of plant them seeds.
Headley did all right,
like
didn't
that.
he? Headley did all right for a second start. I thought he did against Burnley.
I don't think they're coming in better hands for this miracle great escape, because I know that next Saturday against Coventry, that team sheet, hopefully Knockett will be kind of fit again, but there's going to be 1 or 2 curveballs. We won't, when it was kind of heading one way and we were playing the same way and we weren't really going for stuff, we'll go for it, mate. And that's well, even though, yes, I'm saying all this and everything yesterday were totally opposite what I'm saying, but I just know, if it gets to the last 4 games and we need 3 wins, you'll be seeing, different stuff. And the public are all behind Warnock. It was fascinating to see social media last night because you had people. I mean, I just put it out there. Could we win 6 games? And like I said, will it be 6 games, 5 games, whatever? But some people say, what did you expect? We weren't going to beat Burnley. And others were like, it was pathetic guy were there. We didn't even land a boot. So like, there's people trying to like kind of pull both ways. But because it's Neil Warnock, no one's really ripping in. It's almost like everyone's just like,
I think you've just got to.
He's got the credit in the bank, hasn't he? The guy, he deserves it, man.
Like I say, he's had seven relegation battles before, and this is his 7th, and he's had 6, and he's been successful in 5. So he's got the respect, hasn't he, Poz?
I think that's it, mate. He's obviously probably been in this situation many times before, where he's got a couple of games coming up that on paper he sees as being winnable and one that's not. So, sensibly, you're looking maybe longer term than just a 90-minute match. It makes sense to not go gung-ho in one, don't get any injuries, etc., and then, put all your eggs in those, or half your eggs in one basket, half your eggs in another, and hope that you follow up with a couple of results. And, potentially he's done that in the past and it's worked. It's just the frustration as a fan, I think. I think if you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, you can understand why he's done it. But it doesn't mean say you have to agree with it or be happy with it. certainly not if you've travelled to Burnley and paid money to watch it. I think that's where
That's fair enough.
frustration comes. And as a fan, you never want your team to go out there just to make the numbers up. You want to give it a go. There's many a game where lower quality teams have beat good teams. I watched the League Cup final today, United v Newcastle, and they were very similar. I thought Newcastle didn't really give it a go today either. And as a fan, it's frustrating because let's die trying. You might not win, but let's die trying. And to hear comments like, I mentioned Edmonds Green again, but I think in his interview afterwards he said that he wanted to go on the pitch and die for Neil Warnock. Well, apart from his career, I didn't see much else dying on that pitch yesterday. Given how we played,
Reg.
and how everybody else played. But,
who the bloody hell's Reg? That was great, wasn't it?
I think the thing is with Reg is like, what a time to come in, and obviously
he's not played for a while, has he? I think you've got to cut him a little bit of slack, haven't you?
A couple of times, and he's probably digging him out. But I think that second goal just annoyed me a little bit. And
Matt, the one thing that Reg looks to me totally different. He's so bulked up now. He's such a big guy. It's like compared to kind of when we saw him before and in the early days of Carlos under the COVID season and stuff. And it's like, wow, I was quite shocked. It's like how big. But honestly, Rotherham, the number of fans like, come home, Reg, come home, Reg. They absolutely adore him, mate, there, don't they? But you can't judge him on that yesterday. But it's
it feels like he needs to run a game. He's the kind of player who needs to run.
Is it for town? That is a thing.
It feels like one of those players who just needs to get on a roll. Like 3, 4, 5 games. And if you're chucking him here and there, he needs like he's one of those like not quite. It's the old saying, isn't it, the Rolls Royce thing? But he needs like it's like when your car's frozen in the morning, you need to go out and switch it on for half an hour, don't you, to clear all the mist and what have you. And he just sort of needs to play 2, 3, 4 games in a row before he gets going, I think.
It's a difficult position to just fit in and out of as well. Is that sort of role, because you've got to build up the relationship with your centre halves and your full backs and stuff like that. So it is a big ask to chuck him in at somewhere like Burnley and expect him to do a massive job. And I just don't think he's one of those that's probably used to speaking to media in great detail. He seemed very nervous in his interview. So, although I kind of dug him out, I do appreciate that cutting a little bit of slack. And let's see how we get on it next 2 games. Let's maybe put Burnley to bed and look forward now, because as people have said, we were never going to get out. It's probably more their performance that's annoyed majority of fans rather than the result. So if we get 6 points out of next 2 or even 4, I quite happily suggest that it were a decent idea by Warnock. But at the moment, it's just a little bit. I think it's that old adage, I'm not mad, I'm a little bit disappointed. That little kind of thing, when you say to your kids when they're asked about all day.
I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Not angry, I'm not disappointed. And that's how it felt yesterday.
Yeah, that's fair. So one other disappointment, I'm segueing. The podcast is absolutely rubbish tonight, but I'm segueing well tonight. So yeah, I think one other disappointment was the ATT meeting. There's some questions lined up by the HTSA for the Altogether Town meeting, and that was scheduled for Monday the 27th, which, as we're recording, is tomorrow night, and that's been cancelled, which leads to tongues wagging a little bit, doesn't it? My understanding, you read the article online, etc. My understanding is that it will be heavily focused, or they've obviously seen that the questions that I've got, and they've looked at it and they've gone, everything's going to be heavily focused around these questions. We can't answer any of these because most of them, because it's tied up within NDAs. We hate NDAs, don't we, as a podcast, because it just leaves everything to speculation, doesn't it? And you can't get your teeth into it. But I appreciate there are a lot of things tied up in NDAs. There's some argument to say that they could have just sat there and listened, but I think when there's nothing coming back, I think that'll have just irritated quite a lot of people that they just had to say no comment on a lot of things. So I understand why it's been cancelled. I understand things are at a stage whereby things are maybe a little bit sensitive. So I think at the minute they just need to maybe work on a couple of things and move on. And when there's something to tell the fans, Town tend to be pretty decent-ish, don't they? When there's something to say, they'll say it. But I appreciate that as a fan that at the minute. So we'll just talk about the ATT meeting. So Kosi, for anybody who's listening or watching on YouTube, disappeared for a minute, and there was a message that came on screen that just said, "I am off for a piss."
Man, I know you're talking about ATT. I just want to come back, but I've seen like the 2 games I've been away here. It's like the home fans are absolutely massive for it. It's like Schalke are awful, but the home fans pulled them through exactly just like what happened with others against Birmingham. Same with Dusseldorf. And I just think these next 2 home games, I know Poz, like, sometimes when the stuff's not going our way and stuff like that, it goes quiet. But I just think, especially when teams are kind of, let's be honest, Coventry and Bristol City are mid-table. I know they're playing well, but they're mid-table. I just think that noise and that backing, I just thought that's why Warnock went on that kind of, it were weird. They were like tired. He were obsessed with the fans this, it's going to bounce in, not just Coventry in the Bristol game in the midweek. And I think he knows it. We all know it. I honestly think it's like, this is the moment where everyone's just got to really like just get behind, put everything behind them, the issues we've got with certain players, with everything. Positive, it's just like absolutely huge. I honestly think the home games is where we're going to live it. I know it's an obvious thing to say. We're going to need to win a few away, but I'm going to go the next Saturday and just think, forget about like people who's caused you like issues, or if Lawton plays or what have you. I'm just going to be behind everyone and just like get behind that. That's all we're going to have to do. And honestly, it could be the difference in that as well. I know it's a cliche and it sounds a bit cheesy, but I honestly think that it could, because it's away teams are going to come there. They've got nothing to play for. That Poz, like, and another thing I just wish we could do, Poz or Matt, anyone in the club, it was a bloody Southstand second half. It just makes all the difference. I don't know why we don't do it. It's just like so frustrating. But it is a cliche thing. But these home games, we've got a lot of home games, haven't we? We haven't seen a player at home hardly ever in 2023. So this could be, our time and stuff. But it just feels defining, doesn't it? This next, 10 days, these 2 home games coming up.
Go on, Poz.
No, I agree with Kosi. I know you were talking about ATT there, Matt, and Kosi's kind of jumped over to.
It's not a podcast if Kosi doesn't ransack the agenda, is it?
Yeah, just coming back to ATT, I think it is disappointed. As Pat said, Laura, we've got representatives that attend these meetings, and the questions that were going to be asked were probably going to be asked a little bit more, I'll say aggressively, but I don't really, for want of a better word, kind of like with a
forthright.
With a view for not really allowing the club to skirt around the issue, shall we say, and feed us, if buts and maybes. However, they've obviously seen fit that they can't come out and speak to the fans maybe as openly and truthfully as what they might do, because something is happening, which is good for the long-term future of Huddersfield Town. Obviously, if there are people that are out there interested in taking the club on and hoping that we can, pay Mr. Hoyle off, or whatever he needs to sort of relinquish his control of the club at the moment, then that's fantastic. And if fans put too much pressure on stuff and they say things that they shouldn't or not allowed to, it can change the aspect of that potential takeover. So I understand why they've done it. However, it would have still been nice to maybe be able to sit down with key representatives from the club and just, I won't say just have a rant at them, but maybe get across the undertone and why certain sections of the fan base are almost feeling like they are. I think a lot of weight has been lifted with Warnock coming in regards to bringing a lot of people back on board. I think that was a great move, not only for the chances of Huddersfield Town surviving in Championship, but also as a big morale boost as well to the fan base. I certainly know people who had sacked it off who are now, back.
I think they get that though, Paul. So that banner that you put out the other week, I honestly think that's turned a few heads as well. And I know you've got to be daft, to go to the games and even work at the club to know that when you're struggling in the league that we are, people are not happy. But I think that banner did a lot of good. The first banner, obviously, last week, died for 3 points and stuff like that as well. But I didn't have much of an issue with the thing last week. A lot of people were kicking off, but what could you say? I think that's so frustrating because as doom and gloom as it feels now and that as well, and just to lie it over us, I mean, it's Tummy's tick yesterday with Burnley. We could stay up we could have a new owner, new energy, new directive kind of from the top. Next season, whoever it is, that we can go again, Huddersfield Town, that they'll pump money in, stadium might get you kind of done up and stuff like that. We're not far away. I think this is the horrible thing at the moment. It's just like, we're not far away from having something really exciting, in my opinion, again. But then we're not far away from going to Stevenage and Exeter and Port Vale. And it's just like, it's an horrible time because you just know we've just got to stay up at all costs. It's incredible that like Wigan and Blackpool are still below us, as many of we've lost, we've won 8 games, 7 games. But I think that if we still had the same ownership, Poz, and everything were flat and stuff like that as well, I'd be like, well, if we go down, whatever, because we're in the mess. But I just believe that with new owners and new energy thrown at it and stuff, like that next season and that as well, the club, because I just think that the Championship is a massive league. The second division in Germany cannot compare with the Championship. To be honest, there's half of the divisions like in the top division, like in Holland and stuff like that as well, that it's not as good as the Championship with the money coming in, with the standard of the football. I just think we've disrespected it. We've took his eyes off the ball. We've had no leadership from the top, and that's why you can't run a club like we've done and that as well, and expect to stay in like this division and that as well. And we might still have a chance of getting out of it. There's some absolutely huge clubs getting like 25, 30,000, kind of crowds every week and stuff like that as well. We've just like let things rot, and amazingly, we've still got a chance with 12 games or 13 games to go, whatever it is, to stay in the division and that as well. So it's like, to me, it's. I feel really, and this sounds really bad, but I was saying to my friend here, it's like, if we go down, I kind of feel fuming, but I'm comfortable with it because everything we've done deserves a relegation. We let his best manager go. We did we let his best players go. We didn't sign anyone, any decent kind of players and that as well. I just think everything we've done deserves a relegation. But amazingly, we've still got a chance of staying up and better days around the corner. It's such a strange kind of time at the moment where Blackpool and Wigan are perennial kind of up and downs and stuff like that as well. We've had like 10, 12 years in the second tier. We don't want to kind of go there again because I keep hearing people say again, I don't get it. It's like, League One, we could go. A guy was here last night, like, yeah, but it could be good. But but you were younger 12, 13 years ago. We were on an adventure. Dean Oil's money were like bigger than any kind of money in that League One when we were on the roll and stuff.
Oh.
Things are totally different now. We do not want to go down. I can't emphasise that enough. It'd be the worst thing ever to go down for Huddersfield Town. But it wouldn't take much, Poz on Matt, for us to be pushing again for playoffs next season. Honestly, you look at now, I think, how the hell can you say that? We could do, though. That's a Championship. But that's why these next 2 games are absolutely huge because we've just got to have that belief in there. And we don't want to Cardiff, Reading, the last 2, but I just think it's such a big thing where some people are just thinking, well, if we go to League One, we've been there before, we can come back again. I just think it's such a big well to drop into and that as well. I just don't see it.
No. I think we aimed for a shorter podcast this week, haven't we? So I think there's probably going into wrap-up territory now. Kosi, we had some sad news, didn't we, this week that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, we did. I got a message on Friday from Matt Harrison, who was a big Town fan and that as well. And one of his close friends had a stroke and died. A big Town fan called Liam Hansen, and is obviously the family and devastated as well. And his wife Lauren Hansen is obviously a widow now. And I think what you don't realise is like even just like bumping to kind of guy last night. It's like Huddersfield Town is bigger than just like a game of football on a Saturday. It's kind of a real family and as well. And I can't comprehend how it must feel to like lose someone just close to that as well. And it's really sad because he's like, Matt has sent me like a picture of him and that as well in his Town shirt, one of those Buckter kind of retro shirts and that as well. Lauren smiling there background, but yeah, Huddersfield Town is like, as much as we get frustrated with the results and things don't go our way and that as well, it's just a way of life for some people and that as well. And to have people like kind of suffering, and obviously we've seen those memorial games that we do have, and I think everyone must know someone who's like been, affected by someone kind of lose someone so close and that as well. It's I know it's a bit cheesy. I know Barcelona usually, but he's kind of more than the club as well. So yeah, I just wanted to pay a bit of tribute there and that as well, because like Matthew sent me a message in that as well. So yeah, we just say, Liam, this podcast is like dedicated to you. Obviously, gutted that we couldn't kind of get a result for you on that as well. And it's just a sad time for them and the family and that as well. And we just send them all the best as well, Matt. So yeah, it's nice that people, obviously we do our podcast and we talk football, but it's Huddersfield Town, and it's just like, we've all seen people that go to the games and they take the families and stuff like that as well. When someone just like, kind of passes away like that, it's very sad. But yeah,
very young
rest
as
in
well.
Peace, Liam. Rest in peace. Yeah, very young, 27, Matt. No age.
All the best to Liam's family. It's very sad, and you've got all our sympathies, and all the best. And hopefully, if you think we can ever do anything for you, let us know. And we're not too far away. So all the best to the families. And sorry to hear the bad news. I think that's all we've got time for this week, haven't we, guys? So, hopefully there's brighter times around the corner for Huddersfield Town. It's a big week coming up. The fans, I thought, were fantastic away at Burnley. It could have been easy to, throw the towel in and, just sack it off. They didn't. They kept singing, kept going. Fantastic. They're, like Neil Warnock says, they're hugely needed from now to the end of the season. Keep going, guys, and hopefully we can get out of this and and we can have happier podcasts going forward. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be back again next.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. Colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.